So this is my note to say thank you so much for those who voted for me and supported the Logic Party policies. It's a bit of a splash and a warm-up for 2020. And, I guess I would quote Winston Churchill, although I probably should be in the bath to do that, where he ran most of the country for a while, but it would be that this is not the beginning and it's not the end, but it is the end of the beginning, and it's been a really wonderful beginning. It was there's been hundreds of thousands of views on my videos over the past month, and of course, as a new candidate for a new party, we were only legally able to register from August 24th to August 28th. So literally, instead of having a multi-million-dollar 9-month campaign with the backing of a party, it was a one-month whirlwind to launch this narrative in New Zealand, which is just such an important narrative. And that is pointing out the fundamental economic mistake, or the assumption that is a mistake, that has limited our economic development, our growth, our potential as a society for years now under National and Labour. So this is the beginning of a narrative that I think everyone that voted for me can own, because the fact is that the government they put digits on a screen in reserve accounts and they create money, and they can literally do that and allocate all the funding we need to build all the infrastructure we need, to fund all the social needs, to fund our healthcare, and give us the community level of spending that makes us a social economy that is the envy of the world. And they can do that tomorrow at the same time as dropping taxes to 2%, because they do not need to remove our disposable incomes in order to make an economy work. In fact, obviously just the opposite. We need money in our pockets to spend at restaurants and shops and everything else, to create and meaningfully contribute in our life in order to make the economy work. Now that rule should resonate, what I'm saying should resonate with everyone naturally. So, it's funny, I was definitely told that, the National Party could literally put up a goat in my area and everyone would vote for them, because of course I live in an area where, people have worked hard to earn their money, or they've worked smart to earn their money. They have a lot of it and they want to protect it, and they don't like the concept of tax because they don't like to give away their money, so that they are working to pay for the rights of other people. And the beauty of logic is that our economic model proves that that's fundamentally incorrect. They don't need to be taxed in order for the government to provide the financial allocations to give all of those who are most vulnerable something that they need to live a dignified life. And of course, if they had put up a goat, then there'd be no competition. The goats are so cute, they'd win every time, wouldn't they? But they didn't put up a goat, they put up Maggie Barry, and congratulations, she went to a stunning win as predicted. But based on that fundamental mistake, and that is that their taxes are about 20% too high, they should drop them tomorrow, and that they're restricting government spending just through a basic fundamental intellectual deficit. I like that word deficit, because I'd just like to point out also that their talk of a surplus means they have taken your disposable incomes as taxes, because they're taxing too much, and now they sit on your money and do nothing with it, when actually if that money was in your pocket, you could be having a spectacularly improved life right now. So never ever hear the word surplus, or governments who preach for surplus, as a good thing, because it's a bad thing. That means that they've taken too much of your money out of your pocket. And there's so many assumptions about the economy like that are wrong. I must admit, I do hope, now that Winston is in a position of power, that in fact he becomes Prime Minister. I think he's had an incredible career as a politician. He's been the person who has held people accountable for their corruption all the way along. He's always the one who is uncovering corruption scandals. So it's amazing that the media have misled us to believe that he is anything but the politician of the highest level of integrity. I really hope the negotiations come out with him just saying to each party, whoever wants to make me Prime Minister wins, because at the end of the day, if he is in that position of power, he can create policy that makes real change for New Zealand and protects New Zealand ownership. I think is the most important thing there. I definitely want to thank those people who really, really supported me. And so Miriam, my wonderful, wonderful neighbour, thank you so much. And Peter, you were fantastic, thank you. And my mum and dad, my beautiful mum and dad, thank you very, very much for your support as per all my life. And I would love to thank Michael Mansfield for his standing by my work and belief in my legal argument that various approaches, one obviously being the way to protect the environment by holding the industrialists accountable for criminally and financially accountable for contaminating the ecosystems that we need to sustain our health and survive at great profit, might I add. So hence it makes sense that they are financially penalised and that our taxes are not used to be transferred offshore in carbon taxes, which, given the state of carbon, countries are currently submitting records of their carbon emissions that are incorrect, so the data is unreliable, and we do not need our economy structured on an international tax when we are quite capable of completely transitioning under this law, which makes the contamination illegal and the pollution illegal, and those who are responsible for choosing to bring it about responsible. So the ETS tax is big fraud, I like to say that. And we have an alternative, and also obviously the fact that, if we do have an international criminal court for sustainability cases established in New Zealand, then this is about preventative justice, or a way that preempts the crimes that are so obviously foreseeable, like the illegal conflicts that are building up to potentially mirror what's happened in Syria and Iraq, and the complete human devastation there for billion-dollar profits of defence industry owners, and as an imperialist sort of global takeover of territory, geopolitical power. So now that wars are being sort of psychologically rallied or willfully incited, that's illegal to willfully incite a conflict. Against North Korea, Morgan Freeman's released a war declaration effectively against Russia. Trump's giving speeches about, destroying Iran effectively. So we're at a really important time in history. We have leaders who are illegally inciting war. And it's a legal war, so illegally inciting it, and it's a legal conflict, and it for billions in profits. And we have law that is capable to prevent it, but it's not being used. It's not been applied. I am making the arguments to the court. They are reviewing them. They have one there at the moment relevant to North Korea, but this should apply to all of these conflicts, which are so clearly on a trajectory towards mass destruction and genocide. They are a crime against humanity, and those who are advancing them deserve to be held accountable. So, I think I think the International Criminal Court for Sustainability is something that I will remain intensely focused on. The other thing I want to do is I want to read the Electoral Act this weekend, because I really feel, my vision has always been for 2020, because a month to campaign with no budget next to parties with multi-million-dollar budgets is just a beginning, but or the end of the beginning. But I want to read the Act because I want to see how it is possible that when we have an MMP system, that the media basically promote a first past the post election, where they only feature the two major winners in one party as a leader or a ruler or governor. I think it's really important that in 2020. All of the parties are treated equal at all times, and that the majors are not just given the media platform, so that everyone, the media leads them to only trust the majors. And, in terms of the ETS versus, charging the taxpayers for environmental destruction versus my legal argument, which charges the industrialists, or in terms of the economics that they've got wrong, Labour and National, where actually Labour is completely wrong. We should have incredibly low taxes, not high taxes. And National is wrong by restricting the money supply. They should triple or 10 times the public spending tomorrow. Just like in 1935, when the government issued all the money that we needed to build 200,000 state houses, debt-free, interest-free. The checking accounts, the reserve accounts, were credited by the government with digits. Money was created, not printed, just created, like the banks do every day when they issue a loan. We built the 200,000 houses, the materials required, everything and everyone was paid for by the government, creating the money necessary to do it. We had 200,000 homes. Everyone was homed. People were happy because, it was prosperity, new jobs, new expenditure, and everything worked, and inflation was nowhere near in sight. And that's the fundamental disconnect that people need to come to terms with, is that the government do not need to collect tax to spend money. They can put money in accounts all day long tomorrow, wherever they want, wherever it's needed, to reduce traffic congestion, to make everything work. Sorry, I'm having to get rid of messages. To fund our social costs, to fund our health, everything. And the fact is that if they do that, our economy starts to work. If they give us our income tax back tomorrow, our economy starts to work. We all have money to spend. And ultimately, the supply and demand, our real goods and services, can expand and grow and develop, and our human potential can start to be met because we all have the magic tool of exchange and access to money to be able to create and meaningfully contribute in society. And as that supply expands, the supply and demand is a natural regulator of our economy. It doesn't need to be backed by gold. It is backed by our human limits to create and contribute, and then use that to consume. So the point is that we only risk inflation when the what we call our economy, our giant supermarket that the government take expenditure from or expend in to get everything they need, and then the public expend in to consume, although at the moment not much because our money supply is constricted intentionally by National. But if at the point where that supply is fully consumed, that's when inflation starts to become a risk, and that's when you can start to put back up taxes to reduce spending power and take money out of the economy. My challenge in the next 3 years is to start talking about this in a way that more and more people come to understand, because the moment people understand that we can have almost no income tax and almost collect all the taxes on society, just keep enough tax there, very low level, to motivate people to go out and work because they have to earn money to spend it. But otherwise, we're in a situation where we can spend everything we need to make our economy work and resolve all our infrastructure and social and health problems and education, and invest in education and treat our society and our people like an investment, so no one is left behind, no one is suffering. And if we start to get this right, we will have an economy and a country that is the envy of the world. But more importantly, we will show the world how this can be done. We will show the world how everyone can live with quality of life and dignity. And yes, as I said, in the national area, in the North Shore, my electorate, I've got the greatest challenge, because I just need to persuade all these people with the money that, of course, they want to protect that money. They don't want to be giving that out for redistribution to other people when they believe that they've worked hard for the money or worked smartly for the money. They want to protect it, hence they vote for National. But I need them to kind of step even more to the right and realise that mirror image is excessive value to the left as well, because if they can accept that we can evolve our currency to spend as much as we like at a government level to meet our needs for all the people in society, and they can still be out there making a lot more money, having a major tax break, and generating more and more wealth, then we're going to have a society where it doesn't matter which level you're at, you're doing well. And ultimately, it meets our highest aspiration for doing well, for all the people, providing for those most vulnerable, and allowing for our greatest potential to be met. Again, I want to thank you, everyone who helped me. So Miriam, Peter, Mum and Dad, and especially Michael Mansfield and Warren Mosler, you were amazing and patient with me, and I look forward to the next 3 years where the challenge is to bring the people to this, this high level of knowledge, and it's such a simple simple understanding of our economy and of climate change and environmental destruction and all these major issues, if understood correctly, intelligently, we can change the world. That's the logic plan. So 2020, and thanks again.